Hi, everyone. I'm here with Jacob Sapochnick. Really happy to be here and appreciate you taking the time today, Jacob. Jacob is one of my dear friends, and we've been working together for almost 10 years at this point. We started working together at Simple Citizen, and now we've been able to work together lawfully. Jacob is one of the most successful immigration attorneys in the country. He has an incredible story from uh, uh, leaving Israel to go to the UK for law school, coming to the US as an F1 student to get an LLM, and ultimately starting his practice in 2004. And since then, he's grown significantly over the years, and he's prominent across social media, has over 1.6 million followers on Instagram, and has helped thousands of people achieve legal status in this country. He works with people from all kinds of backgrounds and countries. I'm really happy to be here with you, Jacob. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Of course. Always a pleasure, Matt.
I think to kick off, I'd like to dive a little bit more into your story, your own personal immigration story, as well as starting your firm back in 2005, and what it took to, or back in 2004, and what it took to build it into what it is today.
So, whenever I talk about that, it's kind of interesting because it makes you almost like do a rewind in your brain. And then by doing the rewind, we go back through so many things like trends and things that change in our practice and also in technology over the years. So, when I started my practice in 2004, it sounds like it's been, ages ago, but it's things have changed dramatically. And for me in the beginning, the biggest issue was, well, how do I spread the word about what I'm doing? Because I worked I worked for only one law firm in my entire career. And I only worked for that law firm because I obviously needed a visa sponsorship and I needed to be able to stay in the US. So that company, I transitioned from a student visa to an H-1B working for these guys. And I tell the story, the way I found them, I had a 1 month left on my OPT, which is the student visa work authorization. And I literally already planned my exit to go back home because I didn't have a job.
You have your flight already?
I had my flight booked.
Wow.
My parents bought me the flight because I couldn't, obviously, they paid for school and everything. So my flight was ready. My parents purchased my ticket. I had it in my hand. So I cleared my apartment and I was literally ready to leave. So I was enjoying my last month in San Diego. And I went back to law school to collect my diploma and everything. And then I see on the bullet board, there was back then we would look at job postings on the board in the student union, right? There's all these law firms who post things and internships. And I see this little ad and it says Hebrew translator needed ASAP. And then the law firm was right there down the street. And I was like, this must be crazy because I speak Hebrew. Nobody else that I know in the school, so I called them up and they were like, you need to get here now. So I get there, I walked,
They told you to go there right then?
Right now. Yeah. It was
Wow.
10 minutes from the law school. The law school in San Diego is in downtown. We are surrounded by buildings where all the law firms are. So, I walked, I wasn't doing anything. It was my last month. I walked in there and then I see a pile of documents. So it was a probate case. Two heirs were fighting for land in Israel. And so, the attorney said, listen, all these discoveries in Hebrew, we need to find these 5 documents. You have the whole weekend. I don't care if you sleep in the office. You got to find these documents. So, I literally start working that same minute. I found the documents. I stayed, the weekend. They finished the brief. And on Tuesday, I walked back in. They gave me a check for my work, which was quite significant for me at the time for, 2 days of work. And as I'm leaving the law firm, I walked back to the partner and I said, listen, is it possible to get an internship here because I just finished law school? And he said, yeah, of course. And so I got the internship on Thursday. I started doing the internship by next Thursday, so a week. So now I have 2 weeks left. I tell him, I've been working here for a week. Would you do an H-1B visa for me? And he's like, what is an H-1B visa? And I said, well, it's a sponsorship, so I can work with you guys. And he's like, you know what? He tells his assistant, I like this kid. Get him the visa. And back then there was no cap on the H-1B, so they literally filed for my visa. I was able to get it in quite fast, And I still had the OPT 60 days grace period. And so I got my H-1B and I started working for these guys. And then when I was there, they opened an immigration division. They were trust and estates law firm doing international asset protection.
Uh-huh.
And so I worked with them for about a year and a half. They did my green card as well. I requested them to do it back then. Before 9/11, I got my green card in 6 months. And so so I had my green card. It's been working with them for about less than 2 years. And then the firm was good, but they had a lot of issues there. I didn't like the way they were treating clients and all that. So I decided, a few months after I had my green card, I decided to resign. I had no plan, no nothing, and I just didn't. I was quite unhappy working there, and so I resigned. And my friend gave me a desk at his office at the back where the copier room is, and that's where my office started. And and then again, there was no Facebook at that time. We're talking about early 2004, late 2003. It's actually late 2003, before Facebook, before all that. And so I literally just put a couple of Yellow Pages lines because I couldn't afford anything more than that. And I had no clients really for the first 6 months, and I was getting frustrated because my parents were putting pressure because they said, listen, you can stay there, you're working there, but at the same time, you're not really progressing that much, and so why don't you go back home? So I gave myself a year to do something, and honestly, Matt, I have to tell you, I was getting desperate because I was getting zero clients. I had to pay. My friend wasn't charging me rent for that desk at the copier room, but still, And then I was, I was getting depressed working from that dark room. So I would go to a coffee shop in La Jolla every morning just to, get my head clear. And I was sitting there one morning, and that this guy was screaming on the phone, update the blog, change the heading. And San Diego, as you know, is a hub for marketers. And back in the day, we had a lot of big marketers, Frank Kern, and all these guys from digital marketer. They're all living in San Diego. And this guy, and so I came to him at the end and I said, listen, what is this blog you're talking about? And he's like, well, a blog is a thing where you can actually write content on it, and it updates on a daily basis, and it helps the internet. It helps you show up on search and all that. So I asked him to help me to build my blog, and the Visa Lawyer blog, which is the first one of the first blogs for attorneys that I know of, was created in 2004.
Wow.
To this day, it's still there. And
can you say it's the first ever immigration lawyer blog, or is
one of the first? I know that Greg Siskind had the first website ever for immigration.
Okay.
I don't know if he had a blog connected to it, and I believe mine was actually the first.
Well, someone will have to dispute us then. I think we can say it's the first ever immigration lawyer blog. We'll see who disputes it.
I definitely know Greg Siskind had the first website in the world, which he definitely has the credit for it. But anyway, so it was one of the first. So I'm writing on the blog because I have no clients, right? What else can I do? So, and then within a couple of months, I get a call from NBC News. They call my cell phone because it was on the blog. And it says, may I speak to Jacob? And I'm answering my phone at the time, my own phone. And I was like, who wants to talk to him? And then they said, well, we are from the news. We need him on the evening edition because there's a big change in immigration for citizenship or something. And so I'm like, well, how did you know about him? And so, well, be reading his blog. And that was a moment where I was like, wait a minute. That was a shift. So obviously I went to the news, I was in the news, and after that I was starting to get some calls, and I started to write more focused articles that will get me more results, like work visas and things like that. And after that I was appearing in more media, and I became more focused. So I would say blogging was my first social media kind of dabble, but
when people would call you, did after that first time, did you start to do a separate voice as if there was a gatekeeper before they could get to you?
Well, what I did is I really hired my first assistant 6 months into my practice, which was she was a secretary in the law firm that I used to work. She didn't like it either. And I said, listen, I can barely afford to hire you, but I do need help. Cause I didn't really want to do, a lot of things that I shouldn't be doing. And so internally I forced myself to hire her, which was obviously a good decision. And I tell people, if you can delegate early, you should do it.
Uh,
And so, so I hired her, and she was answering my phone at the time as well. But the thing is, with the blogging, I realized that I need to be more visible. So I would write content on things that would be interesting to people. People would get stuck with K1 visas, H1B nightmares, and so that was kind of the beginning of my focus on social media. And I think Facebook was my first platform that I started really posting content that would be not just banners like other attorneys would just post, hire us. I would actually post stories that are not related to law. In fact,
you told me before that you went super viral in the
remember
early
that.
days
So
of Facebook, right?
I was fortunate enough to meet this lady. Her name was Mari Smith, and Mari Smith was she was a big Facebook marketing. She's called the marketing queen. She lives in San Diego as well, which I was lucky that all these people. So I met Mari in an event, and she kind of like took me under her wing, and she's like, "Well, come to my event." I went to her event, and I realized, learning about from her and other people in the industry, that at that time, 2005, posting on Facebook is not just like a banner thing. They want to see things that are interesting. So I posted this
If I
thing.
remember right, it was like a water
It
slide,
was a
right?
water slide. Yeah, it was a Brazilian water slide. And I
Yeah.
said, "Would you go down the slide? Yes or no?" And I mean, within a couple of days, this thing went viral. It had like a few million views. At the time, it was huge. But what it did, it helped more people discover my page that eventually actually had immigration need. And so, I started doing more things like that, which was just like creative stuff, like some posts and some memes and so, I started getting known as like the Facebook lawyer because I was, I think we were the first to get access to Facebook Live and whenever they released it, and I started doing some lives. And so for me, social media was always interesting. So from Facebook, I went to Instagram, and then I tried, there was a platform called uh, Periscope, which was a streaming platform, and then Meerkat. And I would try all these different tools and Snapchat. I was quite active on Snapchat at the time, and all these things were essentially helping increase our brand awareness about who we are. Obviously, the law firm was growing slowly, and we were adding more people as we got more busy, and I think one of my biggest corporate clients came to me from my collaboration with TN Visa Expert, which at the time I wasn't involved in it. I was helping as the legal advisor to this company. But one a corporate client bought the do-it-yourself kits that website was selling, and decided that they needed help to bring corporate clients. So that company ended up being a huge company, which went public, and we did all their H1Bs, all their O1s, all their compliance until they were acquired, and EY took over their immigration itself after 8 years of us working with them. But things like that obviously helped us get bigger, bigger, bigger. But to this day, I still, obviously now I'm active on TikTok and other platform, but I still believe that it's important to be out there. It's important to build a brand, to build something that people will remember you and say, "Oh yeah, I remember this guy. I saw him on this and that." And today we are obviously still active on social media, but we work with a lot of corporate clients. We have a lot of startups that we work with. We did a few acquisitions in terms of startups that we work with. We're investing into companies like Simple Citizen over time and many others. And so for me, it's kind of like I'm an immigration attorney, but I'm also doing other stuff. I'm doing stuff in tech. I used to have a podcast for 2 years, The Enchanting Lawyer. And so it's kind of like it's an ecosystem because you want to be relatable to your clients. So you can't just be a lawyer. You have to be, at least for me, I'm a lawyer, but I'm also a business person. I'm also somebody that is an immigrant. And so it's easier for me to relate to people that
It's
that I'm with.
It's something I really admire about you, and I've always admired it about you, that you are just raw and authentic, and you relate with everyone. Anyone you meet, you just instantly connect with them. And I think it's one of the biggest reasons why you've been so successful. I think there are a lot of reasons why you've been successful, but I think it's one of the big reasons. And it makes me think back to, you have always helped people from all kinds of backgrounds, whether it's a company like Palo Alto Networks, or it's an individual dreamer who is doing their work authorization renewal.
Right.
I remember back during the first Trump administration, I can't remember, was it the first Trump administration or early Biden? I think it was the first Trump administration, where you all of a sudden could do the DACA renewals again. And I remember you telling me that you were putting out a lot of content on Instagram, and that you had a lot of dreamers watching your content. And I remember when they opened it back up, you told me that you had tons and tons of people reach out to do their DACA renewal. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that experience, and then sort of talk about what you do to increase Caseflow efficiency and reduce Caseflow bottlenecks, because I think that's a good example where you have moments where you maybe go viral, or there are changes within the administration where all of a sudden you need to be able to take on way more cases. What have you done in your practice to work through situations like that?
So I think, and again, for us, it's obviously a work in progress. We definitely, in the past 5 years, we've automated a lot of our processes. So in terms of when client intake, when they reach out to us, there's a automation that goes in place onboarding them. Also, when we work with the clients, we put a lot of tools to automate. Obviously we use the tools like DocketWise, we use Pigeon, we use our own tools that we created for us internally. But I think the automation helps a lot to build processes. If we have a volume of cases, then we also build teams overseas to help us work on our cases. We have a team in Argentina that we put together during COVID. Very, very talented case processors. Our team members go there often. I was there last year. We have team members.
You gotta take me next time.
Yeah, for sure. They went there. We keep in touch with them. They come to visit the US as well. So I think it's you can always scale up by adding more people. Once you have the team, the trainings set up internally, we can onboard people faster to train them to help us with flows, just like happened with that DACA influx at that time. But I think that's key to scaling, especially in immigration, to have automation and have good systems in place to be able to scale up operations if needed, which is what we're doing right now.
It's something I love about the way that you run your practice. You put your phone number everywhere, and I'm sure there are tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of people that have your phone number saved in their phone. And I know that goes to your teams. It goes into your automation workflows.
Yeah, it goes into automation. Instead of just having an email, it goes into this our system where we're able to pick up the case from there and communicate with them. And I think people like that.
And I'm guessing because of that, you're more efficient than the majority of not only immigration lawyers, but lawyers out there that just are bombarded with cases all the time and have a hard time staying on top of it. And I'm sure there's a lot of opportunities that end up just being missed because people, they don't have systems in place.
Absolutely. I think that, there's always a place to tweak. I mean, I think right now we are testing a lot of AI tools to see how AI can help us with automation. As I mentioned to you before, we built a membership that it's in beta right now, and we're going to be launching it fully very soon. That membership will it's called Immigration U, which will allow people to be part of it. There are videos in there, weekly calls with attorneys. We have an AI tool built in that will help them get answers 24/7. So I think those things is where I'm heading in terms of the future, where we want to build communities where people can actually get information. And then when they're ready, they can hire us or anybody else. But but those memberships and communities is where I feel like the future is heading.
So you've been in the trenches for more than 20 years. You've helped so many people to achieve legal status. We've just talked about a lot of different technologies that you've used. You've seen the immigration tech and legal tech landscape change significantly over the years. What, in your opinion, is a common habit around case management or client communication that should have died out years ago, but somehow still haunts a bunch of law firms today?
I mean, I think the one thing that a lot of law firms are doing is, they have these lengthy intake forms that they want clients to complete, and I think there's a way to do it kind of internally, seamlessly while you work on the case versus, like we do it in a little bit different way because we onboard the clients, we have them go through a strategy call, like an onboarding, and then they start giving us the information as they work on the case. Versus, some law firm they even do it like in a Word document, kind of like you have to fill it. Versus like if you do the intake, at least send them some kind of a link that they can actually populate everything into your system. But a lot of law firms just put these barriers of the clients have to fill this information and this information that eventually either gets lost or it's not even stored properly in the system. That's one thing. And I think just, requesting documents redundancy, whereas they can actually find a way to collect everything in one way, like build their own portals. And so they don't have to rely on sporadic document collection tools. So, these are the main things that I see right now that are still happening, which could be eliminated by using maybe AI or other technology.
I've seen some firms, bigger firms, that the intake process is just so robust. And, you have to create a login, you have to submit all these documents just to decide if the firm is going to take you on.
Yeah, it's
And
horrible. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you are a massive firm and it's a way to like reduce the amount of work that you get, I get why maybe you make it so intense. But if you are a firm that wants to get as much work as possible and be able to capture every single prospect that comes your way, there's like for sure some learnings here. I'm sure we could drill down and talk about this all day.
For sure. I agree with you. It depends. Some people are also stuck in tradition where they need that, not even big law firms, the firms that are smaller, they have that traditional intake, give us all these documents and we'll decide. So, I mean, I guess it's a matter of, it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
And I wonder, how much, if that's your funnel and the start of the funnel is sending an email saying, hey, fill this form out and we'll see about taking you on as a client. Like, what's the drop off on that? I'd guess drop off is pretty dang high.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And then what happens with these people? Where do they go? Probably to somebody else that makes things much easier, right?
Yeah. Yeah. They're going to Jacob Sapochnick.
Right.
So there's been a lot of technology solutions introduced in the last. We're seeing a wave right now with AI solutions. I think the last time there was a big wave like this was when we saw a lot of new case management solutions pop up around the time that we were building Simple Citizen, 2017, 2018, a lot of the solutions they're marketed around streamlining work. And many of the solutions out there do streamline work. They make work easier. But there's also some technology that makes work harder. It adds additional steps. It adds more things that you have to do. What's one technology that you've seen has significantly increased your case flow efficiency and made your life and your team's life much easier?
I mean, I'll tell you one thing that we started using recently was the AI drafting tools that are built into our emails. For example, we use Microsoft Outlook for all our Office because it's just how we used to do it, and they kind of evolve with time. And so Outlook has Copilot. And so Copilot is built into all the emails. It's built into all the drafting tools we use with Microsoft. And I think it's been very helpful to draft emails, to summarize. Like when you start the morning, it gives you a summary of all the emails of the day. It's easier to run through it. For me, it's been really helpful, and for my team members, to make sure we don't miss any important emails. It helps with responses. It helps with drafting communication or summaries of things. So that's been really helpful in terms of, it literally saves time. If you're talking about saving time, for me to go through all my emails versus getting a summary, I'm still going to go through the emails, but the summary says urgent RFE for this, blah, blah, blah. And that's buried in my email, but the AI finds it, and I'm going to that email, and I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. Let's deal with this RFE right now. So that's been a life changer for the past couple of months. I think, another tool would be also the tools that we use to record and summarize meetings.
Okay.
So there are different tools around it. I love my favorite one is I'm using Applaud, which is essentially, I have it right here. You can see it. It's this thing. And what it is, it's I can take it with me anywhere. And it records conversations, and also I can attach it behind my phone, and it will record a conversation, and it will transcribe it, and I can say, do it in bullet point style, do it in essay style, do it in whatever style, and then I can just finish the conversation with the client, boom, shoot the client a summary. And that's been for me a life changer.
Can you take it to immigration court?
I believe so. As long as you get permission from the if you get permission from the over there, whoever needs to approve the recording, then I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. Yeah,
That'd be cool to aggregate all of these recordings from all these different immigration judges.
But those are things that take usually time to take the notes and send the client the summary of the email, of the call. This thing happens in a minute. So that saves a lot of time for me personally. I know in my team, they like the different case management tools we use. We have a tool to, it's called Pigeon, that it helps with document collection. So we've been using it to collect documents, and especially in family cases, from waivers and DACA and all that. And so what the tool does, it helps to collect the documents, and then it sends text messages to the clients to remind them to upload what they didn't upload. So it saves us time. It creates a record that we try to contact the client, but they still didn't respond. So when they come and complain, hey, you didn't do the work. Well, we sent you 50 messages already. So that's been very helpful for us. And we keep testing different tools like that. We also enjoy using Lawfully for our client updates. So we're getting the case, update, and so we're able to integrate it with an email to the client, say, hey, your case is blah blah blah. So that's been very, very helpful for us, because clients always want info. So we keep trying different ones. We keep trying. Right now, like I said, we're building an AI tool with a company called Personal.ai, which I'm an investor in that company. I have to disclose. And so what they're doing, they're basically replicating me as a person. And the AI will learn my patterns on a personal level and on a business level, and will be able to respond to my friends and family if I choose the personal mode, or to my immigration clients, my whatever on the immigration side.
So am I gonna know when I'm talking to Jacob AI versus the real Jacob?
Well, right now you're gonna know, because there's gonna be a different text number, but in the future it's going to blend into my actual number, and at that point you're not gonna know. And so yeah,
that's crazy.
I know, but it's
awesome.
So the first version of this tool is gonna be inside our membership. Once we launch it, the members will be able to test this AI. And so that's kind of the things that I'm doing right now in terms of making my life easier.
You're one of the most forward-thinking immigration lawyers I know. You are, there's the adoption curve. My dad, he's a criminal defense lawyer. He's a late adopter. I don't know what year he got the iPhone, but he was definitely one of the last people to get the iPhone. And you're definitely an early adopter. And I love every time we get the chance to connect, and I always learn about new tools that you're using. And I think there's a lot of opportunity for immigration lawyers to learn from some of these tools that you've implemented to, reduce caseflow bottlenecks and increase efficiency, build more revenue to your firm. I want to talk a little bit about disruptions in caseflow, and when things happen that just sort of throw a ringer in your work, in your team members' work. I'm sure you've had instances of minor disruptions in caseflow. That can be anywhere from getting an email or an escalation, or having a client come into the office that you need to stop drafting or whatever it is. But I want to hear about an instance where a disruption turned into a full-on disaster. Would you be comfortable sharing a time when there was a barrier or a bottleneck that caused a serious disruption for you, and what you had to do in order to fix it?
So, a few years ago, we were using a certain case management tool to be able to do forms and get clients' information into like a CRM. And what happened is that what we realized is that we're not getting all the notes that we needed to be able to understand what's going on with the case. So there was a situation where the client was put into proceedings, which we think was by mistake, but the case manager couldn't find the notes showing that we actually screened this client for 245I, meaning that he's protected from removal. But there was no, she's like, well, I remember that it happened, but there's no evidence in any of our files, because that case management completely wasn't, the notes were not integrating with the client's information, right? At that time. And so we obviously, we had to, he was in proceedings. We had to obviously attend the hearings and all that. And we had to do a FOIA to find those records, which we were able to find eventually. But we already had those records somewhere. It's just that we were not able to find them because the notes didn't, it was a whole mess in the file. And so after that incident, I got rid of all these case management systems. We transitioned at that time to Clio, which allowed us to have notes and case matters all in one place, so we can see everything, all the history, including emails. We were able to send emails there. We updated also procedures where we had to buy a server to be able to scan everything into the server and tag it as well, so we can search not only in the case management system but also in the server to find clients' information, which is
so
connected.
Does this happen automatically, that you get the I-797 notices, they go into a scanner, and
it's not automatic? No.
Mm.
They come in the mail, they're being scanned, and then goes into the client's file, but they also stay in the server, so we can search for them there in case Clio crashes or whatever. We also have them in the server, which is
so that's so you're not dependent on Clio. So like in any situation,
you always have like to have a backup of something, right?
Okay.
And we have SharePoint that is also kind of like a separate database to keep the stuff as well. So things like that we learned the hard way by because you have no data.
And that's how it goes. If you've been practicing law for 20 plus years, you're going to have experiences like that, and they're going to be learning experiences.
But think about it, Matt. If you think about 20 years ago, we still had a lot of files, like physical files.
Yeah.
I remember going to the file cabinet at the basement of my building, scrolling through stuff, which eventually everything's scanned right now. That's not that long ago that we had files.
Yeah. That's very new. Yeah.
I mean, we still have files, but not as many as before, where I had a full room of files. You know what I mean? Like a whole basement of files.
Yeah.
Which we had to
What'd you do with all of them?
We have to keep
still
them.
Have them?
We keep them by law 7 years, and then you can shred them. So we have to follow the rules of the bar, what we do with them. But over time, you keep less files.
My dad has two instances that he told me about file issues. One is that he had a capital case. This is maybe 15 years ago. And I think there were 30 boxes of files for this capital case. And he finished up the case, but my dad has always rented an office, even when he first went into private practice. And so he had to go and get a storage unit for all these boxes to
Oh, for
adhere with
sure.
the
We have
bar
storage as
rules.
well too. Absolutely.
And so he just got storage units filled with files. The
Yeah.
other the other
But
story he told me,
over time, you kind of, you know, you find a way to move with the technology where you just scan them.
yeah, it's so much better.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened is that he had a client that was in prison at the time and requested to get the files in his cell. And my dad said, no, we don't want the files in your cell. We don't want them in your cell, especially with your cellie in there. Ultimately, the client's request persisted, and he ended up getting all these clients in the cell. And the cellie ended up being on the witness stand, and and this guy got convicted. He's in, I think it was a murder case. And he's in prison for life now. And it's like, that's an example of, man, where if you had technology, you just say, no, if you want to see the information around your case, like we can meet up. It's here on an iPad. You can click on it on your phone. Much better. And for sure reduces instances of escalations or case flow bottlenecks, makes your practice much better.
For sure.
So every law firm has had meetings to launch new programs or initiatives to increase case flow efficiency, but a lot of these programs never actually come to fruition. And it may sound good in a meeting, but it's actually not good in practice. You just spoke about what you did to overcome this case flow bottleneck, and how you're much better at capturing all of the information, making sure you have notes and files and everything that you need. What's another example of an efficiency initiative that you've seen successful, and what's an example of one that you tried and it ended up not being successful and you didn't implement?
So one that is successful is one where we are trying to track clients' expiration dates, because, like I said, you want to make sure that people don't, get to the point where it's too late for something to happen. So we're trying to kind of stay proactive, and by doing that, by reaching out to clients early on, in some, not all cases, some cases we try to do that. We know, for example, like with the visa bulletin, where some clients, they are current and they need to act now. So we use some automation to alert them of that, so we have enough time to prepare their petitions, right? Otherwise, people just call you last minute. Oh my God, we have to do it now. Versus we are coming together and say, you know what, we'll let them know. So by the time they act on the information, we're ready to file them. So we're not in a position where we have to stay after midnight every day and feel stressed out, right? It's important.
What are you using to do that?
So we built an internal tool using high level. Go high level, which is essentially it tracks the visa bulletin. So we tell them the date, it's current, we put it in there, and then all the clients that have the dates built in, the tool will email the clients in that list. We segment them by list, right?
Anessa and I are going to have to talk, because we just built that into Lawfully Pro too.
Perfect. But maybe we can use that to to be able to, because like I said, we have clients that are currently ready for EB1A, right? So we'll send them that email. Like our tool is not perfect, but it's maybe if yours is better, we can use yours. But like I said, it's just, even if not all of them being notified, the fact that we are thinking about it, knowing that some people are ready for this, it's not going to create overwhelm in the firm.
Well, I think the majority of firms, when they're tracking visa bulletin and priority dates, they're tracking it one of two ways. One, the client is notifying them. They have some system in place where they're trying to stay on top of it, but it's not really working, and the client ends up reaching out and saying, "Hey, my priority date is current. Let's do the AOS." The second is that they have a spreadsheet, or something maybe a little more sophisticated than a spreadsheet, and they have teams proactively checking. It's never, it's always reactive. So that's awesome. You guys built that.
It's kind of like ours, because high level is not the most sophisticated tool. It's just almost like an alert email style, but I'm sure yours is much better, which if you can use yours, I mean, I'd love it. I'd rather use something that will be even more efficient. But
The fact that you're on top of it and you're getting
yeah,
alerts
we're thinking
rather
about
than
that.
checking it
Yeah.
proactively.
So,
Yeah.
so that's one thing that kind of is working somehow. And one you said is not working. Um, well, it's basically where, where we are trying to, let's say a client is not happy. Okay. And the client is not happy. And usually if the client is not happy, they will talk to a case manager first or a paralegal, and they feel something is off. Client is not responsive. So we try to have like a system where we have a person that is assigned to email a bunch of clients and grade them by colors. Green, which means great. Yellow is things are burned, and red is things are burning. And by the reason we did that is because we wanted to be proactive and reach out to clients. But a lot of the team members didn't like it. They felt like they're being monitored, and so we have to find a better way to do it because I still want to do it. I want to be able to survey. I want to be able to survey clients often without upsetting the team and making them feel. Do you know what I mean? But that didn't work well. That thing wasn't successful in the sense that it created almost like a sense of team members didn't feel comfortable doing certain things because they felt clients are going to complain about them, and so yeah, so it does. I'm thinking of a bit different way to do it, which haven't found it yet, but I would like to do it because I would like to find ways to find a disaster before it happens.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. You'll have to let
Right?
me know
No, no,
how that all plays out.
that's one of the that's what I'm it's on my mind right now.
So imagine you just became the czar of modernizing every immigration law firm
Okay.
and in-house mobility team overnight. You have no budget limits. There's no red tape. Basically, you can do whatever you want. You've got a magic wand to change everything. What's something you would you like? What's the biggest thing that you'd change?
Um, so you mean inside the practice or inside the immigration space?
I'm talking about inside the practice, but now I'm curious about in the entire industry and maybe the government level
Um,
too.
I think in the practice, I probably would, maybe um, I would say like a way to maybe find a way to um classify clients based on. So, for example, let's say you work with a client. Um, is this going to be a client that is worth fighting for, working with? Because so many clients, they become very complicated. They become, it's like you realize, well, maybe it wasn't worth it even to do this because he's not collaborating, he's not helping us, he's not giving us what we need. A way to screen people, but in a way that is still dignified and still efficient for the firm to continue to build. Like find a way to say, you know what, these clients are really good clients, and these clients are going to cause you a lot of pain and suffering, and you probably want to find a way to not take them on in a dignified way. You know what I mean? That is
Like
something.
an LTV and margin
Yeah,
measure somehow.
right. That is something that if I could find a way to do it, and I would, that would help me a lot, and many many other people in our industry. As far as the industry, I think, the industry, I think it's more about, um, finding ways to be able to help clients in a more efficient way because
Mhm.
we are dealing with the government. And so how are we able to be a step ahead of the government? Like whether it's a tool or maybe even a forum that immigration lawyers form and they're part of it, where they're like, you know what, this is what we're doing right now. If you guys do that, we're gonna be ahead of the game. So it's more like a mastermind for immigration attorneys that only the most forward thinking ones are going to be part of, and by collaborating on a monthly basis, they come up with the best ways to change the industry. You know what I mean? Almost like this exclusive forum where we meet, and then once in a while they bring government official in there, and they're like, oh, you know what, you guys are the top of the game, and then we'll give you that info. You know what I mean? Something like that. I know it's unrealistic, but if there was, I would be definitely want to be part of it.
Yeah, I want to be part of it too. I'm, as a
I'll
non-lawyer,
invite you. If I'm in
I'll,
it, I'll like, yeah, you have 3 invites. You'll be one of them.
well, I'm gonna go to the American University of Samoa like Saul Goodman. I'm gonna go get my JD from.
All right. Right.
Um, so I'd love to end it with a fun one. Um, if you could design an immigration case management system from scratch, no rules, no legacy systems, what's the first feature you'd build?
Um, the first feature I would build would be essentially a way to get the client's data, right? So the client gives all the data, and then the system will spit out literally the system will spit out a case flow. Essentially, this is what we're going to do. This is what the client needs. Here's are the risk factors in his case. And if, for example, let's say, let's take this most simplest case, marriage case. You spit in all the information, and the system says everything looks good. Da, 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 boom, alert. George, the petitioner, is not making enough money. That's a red alert. Boom, second alert. He was convicted of sexual crimes against children. Boom, third alert. The lady, the wife, she was removed 15 years ago. And it gives you right away. Instead of you digging through this after a month, you were, oh my God, this guy is, a sexual predator. We can't do the case. Or what, you know what I mean? It tells you
Yeah,
from the
and then you
beginning.
put all a bunch of work into it already.
Right. And that will be amazing if we had something like that. Because now you have a snapshot. Say, oh, you know what? We didn't realize that you're a sex predator. We have to charge you more because now you have to go to a criminal attorney to clear it, or you can't even do this. There's no waiver for that, or something like that. Before you,
What do you do in those instances? Like when you find that? I mean,
well,
have
it
they paid
depends.
you fully up front?
Sometimes you have to refund. Sometimes you tell them, well, we can try it. There's no guarantee. What do you want to do? It depends. Depends on the case. Some cases you just have to refund because there's nothing you can do about it. But if I had that, it saves you so much time and effort.
So imagine it's like they upload all their documents. This before maybe before you've even talked to them, they're talking to an
Yeah,
AI to do some basic intake. They upload all their documents. It runs a background check on them. It does all this, and then all of a sudden you get a dashboard and it says, "This is where we estimate LTV. This is where we estimate margin, and this is where we estimate all of the issues that you're going to encounter as you go through the life cycle of this case."
exactly.
That's
Exactly.
genius. So you need to start a case management
I'm
company.
telling you. I'm telling you. We need that.
Um,
That will help a lot. Yeah.
Well, Jacob, I really appreciate you taking the time. I love every time we get the chance to talk to catch up. I hope to see you soon in San Diego or New York or Utah or somewhere else. Tell the audience where's the best place to reach out to you.
The best place to find me would be on Instagram, and it's simple. It's at San Diego Immigration Lawyer. That's it. And you can put
Easy,
the
that's
list.
easy,
Yeah.
easy enough. Well, thank you, Jacob.
Thanks, Matt.